Hey everyone, it's Rich Klaus. Hey, it's January 22nd and we're starting Happy New Year. I wanted to mention my buddy Steve LeBroy. We have a little technical problems this evening. He's not going to be on. He's here in spirit and a lot of input to what we're going to do tonight. But I want to get started. As you know, we start at 7 o'clock and I do my best to get done by 7:30 so we don't take up too much of your time. I think it's a great time of the year to really start thinking differently about your thoughts going forward. For any venture, the best time to start something new is right here at the beginning of the year. You know, many times people have New Year's resolutions. Some keep them, some don't. When you're talking about yourself, your family, your money, your practice, you know, you owe it to yourself to get started with the right type of planning and be able to continue it. As we talk, this is for dentists. The book is The Dentist's Guide to a Debt-Free Lifestyle. You can't have it if you don't start it. So as I've talked to clients for years about, habits are hard to break. You might as well have good ones. One very, very good one is you becoming your own bank. Not a brick and mortar bank on the corner, but developing your own money, accumulating, capitalizing dollars that you can utilize as your bank and handle debts, investment opportunities, etc. You have the ability to take that money out anytime you want, use it for whatever you want, set up your own prepayment or preset payments back to yourself, unlike the banks who control that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I can guarantee you is the year is going to get away from you quick. There's a country song out now that says, the days go slow and the years go fast. Which you don't want to look back at the end of 2019 and go, I wish I had. There's going to be things you look back and say, I wish I had about. Hopefully having a plan that's going to work for you, as number 4 says, going to work financially for you, and when it definitely makes sense philosophically, when's the time to get started? The time to get started is now. So let's take a look tonight why capitalization works so well. Down here at the bottom, you see our website. You need to go to the website. Tax-free income for dentists. There's a lot about how you can utilize the planning techniques to take care of debts, whether they be student loan debts, whether they be practice debts, whether they be opportunities. But there's also a lot of information on the website about how this can also lead money to be able to be in a tax-free nature for you. Another area I want to briefly talk about, I talked about it last month, is why should you work with accredited advisors that have been doing this for a long time? Well, I'm a chartered financial consultant, which means I've passed courses from an economic perspective, a tax perspective, a legal perspective, though I'm not an accountant and I'm not an attorney. I have day-to-day experiences in all of that. You're going to get a lot of experience from Steve and I in what we've done throughout our careers in understanding how to help people set these type of plans up and make sure that they work for you. It's not that one piece fits everybody. It doesn't. We personalize everything with these for you to make sure it fits your specific situation, not another dentist's situation. So as we go forward here, we're going forward, but I'm going to go back a little bit. You know, what is the practice of capitalization? Well, if you're working with traditional or what we would call common planners, not common that they're not good, it's just they do things in a common way and they treat pretty much everybody's plan the same. The first thing most of them, some of you have experienced this, they're going to come in and ask to look at the other investments that you have. And their goal is to hopefully be able to convince you to move those investments to their management so they can get paid. That could be simply asking you to put them on as a rep. It could be telling you that they could do better with their investments. Well, many times you're happy with your investments or you just don't see any reason to move them. So if you don't want to do that, the second area they come down to look at is your lifestyle. That's your checkbook. They want to know how much additional money can you put away and give them to get investments for you. Well, we hear a lot, especially from dentists getting early in their practices or just out of dental school. Well, as soon as I get rid of my student loans, as soon as I get rid of the practice debt, as soon as I get rid of rid of the equipment debt, we'll be able to do that. Well, that common or traditional planner basically would say, well, then as soon as one of those things change, either you want to move the investments or you have more money, please call us if we can help you. Our belief is different. We go over here in your operating or your expense window, if you will. And what we want to do is move as much of that over to your checkbook so at the end of the month you've got access to more money. Now, Steve and I are pretty good at doing this. Our goal is to avoid or minimize. I'd love to say we can avoid all those expenses. We can't avoid them, but we can help you minimize them. And if we can help you minimize them, that means there's going to be more money available for you to, in many cases, put back into your practice to grow your practice. Because as I've asked dentists through the years, where do they have the biggest belief of success? If they put money and give money to outside investment advisors to invest money in things that they may or may not really understand, or put money back in their practice and build it. Every dentist has said the same thing. I have a greater belief that I can build my practice into a more successful one by investing money in my practice instead of other investments. That's exactly what Steve and I believe in also. So our philosophy is different in looking at it. We want to help you find the money to be able to capitalize and find the money to help you have the bank on your side to be able to utilize. Up at the top here, capitalization. It's the building of money that will be used inside your practice or will be used to help pay down student loans that you still have. I love the little picture up here. What we're trying to do is help you build a house of money. You know, that could be your bank right there with your money in it. And you could use that for all the things that we talk about. So what capitalization lets you do, it lets you control the money, loan it to your practice, or use it to pay off student loans, instead of continuing to pay money to banks and equipment companies. Let me change my color here a second. I think this right here is one of these that you've seen me do. If you're paying money to banks and equipment companies, what happens? Who gets the money? They get the money. So here's a few questions I want you to think about. You know, the beginning of the year is always a good time to think through, what do you want to accomplish for the year? What changes do you need to make? So first of all, do you like needing to qualify for loans? Well, early on, maybe when you're just out of school or when you're applying for student loans, you don't have much choice. You have to do that. And whatever paperwork they have, you're going to need to do. I'll tell you what, though, as our dentists get in practice longer, they don't like this at all because they're going, I paid all those loans off, and yet I still have to give them the exact same darn information, give them the exact same collateral as I did 20 years ago when I got a loan. It's not a very happy situation. So number two, do you like giving principal and interest payments and paying them and never getting any of your money back? I always ask all of our dentists, as you make all the payments to the bank or the equipment loan, will you ever get any of the principal back? And they shake their heads and say, no, I'm not. What about any of the interest payments? And I go, well, of course not. Well, I think that's another one of these little buddies. So number three, do you think when you can pay cash instead of borrowing, you've won the game? Most people think the answer to that is yes, but it's not. You know, we will finance everything we purchase. You will either borrow money from somebody else and pay them to use their money, or you will pay cash and self-finance it and lose all the earning power on that money. So what we try to help show and do show that paying cash is better than borrowing money from somebody else, but it's not the best, most efficient way. In your personal free 30-minute consultation with us, we'll help you understand why that statement is true. So would you rather have fixed payments and no flexibility or something different? I think that's one of those big ones right there, because everybody likes flexibility. Traditional way of using banks and equipment companies, you don't have that. Now, let me interject here. It sounds like I don't like banks and equipment companies. It's farthest from the truth. We need to have a good relationship with the banks and the equipment companies because we need them. They need us because they need people to loan money to, but we need them too because there's going to be times when we need to use them to get the money to get a practice started, to get a piece of equipment in. But what we want to be able to do is be able to develop the capital in the capitalization accounts to be able to not need them as much or not need them for as long a period of time. So they still make money. It's just you're going to make more money by having this type of planning in place for you. Do you like? Once a piece of equipment is paid off, what typically happens? Hey, it's time to start over again because that equipment's kind of old now, or there's something new that you've added to the practice and you need a new piece of equipment. So what that's really saying is, hey, the money's going out. It's never going to stop going out. It's going to go ahead and just continue, but it's going to another expense inside the practice. Would you like to know in number 6 how much money you don't or won't have because of these payments? I have a lot of people go, I don't even want to think about that. Well, that can be in someone that has a practice and has a practice for us. That could easily be over $1 million that most people don't even know that they are losing. So they're unwillingly and unknowingly paying that money out, and they don't even know what it's costing them. Number 7, do you want to follow the crowd or improve by doing something different? Well, if you follow the crowd, it's this. If we come in and you can see the value and see why you want to do something else, it's this. I always ask all the dentists or let them know that their income is uncommon. It's significantly higher than the normal people out there. So if that's the case, should you be doing the same thing that everybody else does in the way of handling debt and making purchases? Or should you be doing something different or something uncommon? And the answer is 100% we should be. The very successful people financially have always done things differently than everybody else. You should be doing the same thing, but it should relate to how you handle your purchases, major purchases you're going to need, not just in certain areas of your life. Most people do it, a lot of people do it, I shouldn't say most. A lot of people will do it as related to certain items, but until we've gotten together, I've not seen any dentist be able to employ this kind of strategy because they just don't know it or where it even exists. Okay, now take the time. Beginning of the year. Take your time to think about your goals, not just for today, but future debts. What major purchases? How do you ideally want to handle? Let me give you a story. A dentist client of ours and how and what happened when he changed his outlook on debt and practice. He had a nice practice, generating about $600,000 revenue. Well, now it's over $2 million. Well, what happened is when we set up his CAP plan, again, stands for capitalization, accumulating money, we used the cash values that were in the plan to pay off existing current debt, and he diligently paid the cash values back to his plan. That's what we call honest banker. You don't have to be an honest banker, but what I always ask everybody is, who do you like better? Do you like the banks and equipment companies better or you? Honest banker says if I had to pay them a certain amount, I should be at least willing to pay myself as much. So as they paid him back and continued to make his premium deposits, cash values grew. He next used them for a down payment on a new office building. Interesting thing happened. The office was big enough to have tenants in it. The building was. He rented out part of the building, and he covered the whole mortgage cost. Now, most people would go, great, I don't have to pay rent for my practice. He said, no, I'm going to stay true to being an honest banker. He paid the same amount of rent he would have had to pay if he was renting the building from somebody else. But all that money went back to his policy, and his cash values grew more. He was then able to expand, hire associates, and he increased revenue. we're now looking to continue to grow the practice, but we're projecting how much tax-free income, these same dollars that he had used for paying the original practice debt off, putting the down payment on the building, continue to use it for equipment and growth in the practice. We're using those same dollars again so we can produce income, tax-free income in retirement. So now we're going to look basically at a few different ways that you can pay for equipment purchases and remodels. I'm going to get my colors changing again. You know what that means, what's coming. So let's look over here. Typical, traditional, common. What we mean by that is today what is typical is very untypical of historical, of what's going on. People are doing things differently. Interest rates are low, no pension plans. Everything is different financially than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. So many people are doing what is typical today but wouldn't have been typical before. So the left-hand side, what's in red here, is most people are using bank and equipment financing, partly because they don't have any capital, because they're putting it in places they don't have access to. But when you do that, banks make the profit. The banks have the cash flow. Well, why is that? Because you've got fixed payments when you take those loans out that you must pay the bank out back every month, and you have no leeway, because if you do, your credits hurt, your practice's credits hurt, so you better make them on time. So with all of that, the banks are in control. On top of it, many of you have run into this, the banks will loan you the money, but they want collateral. Well, what's collateral? They may come in and take a second mortgage position on your house. So the equity in your house, if you don't pay back your loans on the practice, they can come forced to sell your house to take the money out. They could put a collateral position on maybe some investments that you have. It just further protects them if you don't pay. So they're controlling cash flow, they're controlling basically how loans are designed, and they're controlling collateral of yours to make sure you pay them back. Who makes the rules? The bank's making the rules. Remember the old adage about whoever makes the rules, basically wins the game? Well, the banks are winning, and that's okay. They're putting out their capital. And at the end of the day, they have all your money. Now, has it been a bad deal for you? No. You've had your equipment. You've made nice profit in your practice. It's just, is there a better way? Over here, you can guess it. Here we go again. That's not a very happy person. Now, before you heard this or before you read the book, you thought that was just the way it had to be. So you would probably be fine with it. We're here to tell you that there's a better way of doing that. So if we've got our capitalization planning, now, who gets the profit? You get the profit because you've loaned the money to your practice. The practice is paying you back instead of making payments to the bank and equipment companies. You have cash flow flexibility. Is it possible that over the course of your career, you might have a month or 2 or 6 months over a period of time where cash flow is really tight and you couldn't make some of those payments? It's possible. Hopefully not, but it's possible. Well, if that's the case, would you rather have flexibility to change that, paying it back to yourself, or no flexibility? I think that's a pretty easy question. You're the boss of your money. Who's the boss of the money on the left-hand side in the red? The banks and the equipment companies. And they should be, because you're using their money. Next, you keep the asset, that home equity. If you want to sell the property, if you want to move up to a bigger house, you control it. If you have investments and you want to change the investments, do anything different with them, you can do that because you don't have to put any collateral up. At the end, you've got all your principal paid back, and in many cases can recover some or all the interest, which we will show you how to do once we can look at your personal situation. You see down at the bottom, we've got an orange and we got an apple. I probably should use one of them in red, but which plan do you like best? Well, keeping with our color scheme, I think you would like the green apple best because you're the one that is controlling it. Again, I want to stress, there's a website again. Make sure you get out there and see what there is so you can become even more educated about this planning. So what's keeping you from having what you really want to have? This isn't a trick question. You can have all of these. You have to have the discipline. You have to be willing to take the time to learn. You have to be willing to pay yourself instead of paying others. You have to be willing to save. But you can do that. So what are the two reasons primarily that people don't do this? I'm going to go back to my red color here. They don't feel like they have the money to set up the plan. Well, that gets back to our first screen. If the traditional typical planner comes in and asks you, do you have any money left in your checkbook? A lot of cases you don't. So what do? Well, they leave. What do? We go help you find the money. That's our job. Steve and I are really good at going in and seeing maybe where you're unknowingly sending money that we can help you recover and be able to set your plan up. It's one of the things we talk about in the personal 30-minute free consultation that we're willing to get, which again is all on our time. It doesn't cost you anything for that. As we put the plans together, it's all on our time. You then can make the decision whether it fits in your situation. So you're not out anything. But if you don't do it, it might be keeping you from having what you really want to have. The second thing is, this is the first time I've heard about this. Why wouldn't I have heard about it if it's good or if it's better than what's going on? I don't know anybody that's handling debt this way. Well, let me ask you a couple questions. If you were president of the bank or you were president of the equipment company, would you want someone to understand how to do it more efficiently and more profitably for themselves than use the bank or the equipment company? Absolutely not. And they shouldn't be. Again, we live in a capitalistic country here, and they're out to make profits and grow their capital. So will they teach any of their associates, any of the bankers that you do will they ever teach this strategy to anybody that's working with you? The answer is no. So if there's a strategy out there that you're unaware of that can allow you to have what you want to have, wouldn't you want to know it? And when would you want to know it? You'd want to know it as soon as possible, like maybe yesterday, right? Or maybe the first year that you got out of school. I wish I'd have known this. We get that a lot. We're working with folks in their late 40s or 50s. I can't tell you the number of times we get, where were you 20 years ago? If I could have been doing this then, I'd be so much further ahead financially. Wish you were there. And I said, I wish we were there too. So this is powerful right here. It's your money. It's your practice. It's your family. Who do you want to succeed? I think this is a big, you want your family to succeed. Down here at the bottom, don't you owe it to yourself and your family to see if it can work for you? Of course you do. There's no way that you don't want those three entities, your money, your practice, and your family, to build as much wealth as you possibly can have. And you're missing out on the opportunity. But it takes some time. It takes some energy on your part to allow us to understand how your personally, your finances are working and how your practice finances are working so we can help put together the plan that will work for you. Okay, last kind of page for tonight. Any plan that you have set up should have features and benefits that you want. So let's kind of go through them. I'm not going to spend a heck of a lot of time, but let's go through them. You should have access to your money. It's your money. You should be able to get it. Do the banks let you have access to more money? Yeah, if you want to qualify for it. And if they can get the collateral they want, we think you should have access without doing those things. Shield your money from others controlling it. Well, what's that mean? All that means is we would want your money to be available so you can use it, not having others control it. We talk about a lot or reading in the book, where's a couple places you don't control your money that you have capital? Well, the first is in, say, your 401k and IRA. You've got money in there, but the IRS controls it because they've got all the rules and regulations on how you can get it out or what the taxes or what the penalties are. The other spot is in real estate. The equity you have in your practice building or in your home, basically it looks nice, you've got equity, but you don't have any access to it because the only two ways you can get it out of real estate is to go borrow it, so we're back to qualifying again in the bank's rules, or sell it. Well, we believe you should be able to control it and not have to put any collateral up. We already talked about this, flexibility to change payments, up or down. No prepayment penalties. An awful lot of loans that we see with practicing dentists have prepayment penalties, sometimes for several years. Well, we don't want any prepayment penalties. We don't have to have them. If you remember from the book, I'm a big believer in having luck on your side. Steve and I talk all the time to our clients about it. The L stands for liquidity, but it's really access to your money. The U stands for you can use it for anything you want. And the C stands for control. If you don't have the C and you just have the LU, it doesn't do you any good, because unless you control it, after you have the money and when you decide you want to use it for something, it doesn't do you any good. So control is important. I already mentioned restrictions, retirement plans, or money in real estate that the bank controls. We want to be able to use the same money over and over again. All this is really saying is if you're making $1,000 a month to student loans or $1,000 a month to equipment payments, you should be able to put that back into something so that $1,000 a month is accumulated again, so the next time you need a piece of equipment, we're using that same money again. That's not how it works when you use traditional ways or typical ways of doing it. You make the payments on your equipment to the bank or the equipment company. They keep all the principal. They keep all the interest. And you have to use new money for the next time you want to do something. So this is critical to be able to use the same money over and over again. We'd like to have it provide some income tax benefits, some tax deductions for you, and, as the next one says, some tax-free opportunities. Make sure you're creating cash flow, not just net worth. A lot of people don't understand this, but it is important to learn as quickly as you can. As I've got down here, you can't spend net worth. Used to be an old commercial out there where it was one of the insurance companies, Voya or ING. The people were carrying around a sign. And they said, "What's your number?" And they had numbers all over the place. Well, just because you have net worth doesn't mean that it's going to create any cash flow for you. We live in a cash flow world, not an asset world. You're much better off to have assets that will produce you cash that you can spend and use it for the things you want to spend, than to have net worth that there's no access to the money. It just looks good on a scoreboard. When you're in control, you can create wealth and great rates of return by using your practice. You're now the bank, as we talked earlier. Who makes the profit when they're the bank? The bank does. If you're the bank, that means you're making the profit. And you don't need the money in outside investment sources because you're controlling the cash flow and the rates of return and the profit there. Ideally, we'd like the money to be guaranteed to grow. You can't lose any. Well, what happens? This is a great time. If you looked at one of your investment statements from, say, September 30th, 2018, and you look at it now, say the middle of January of 2019, your money's going to have dropped because the stock market went down. Well, how would it be nice to be able to look at an account on September the 30th of 2018 and you look at it today and that balance is at least the same, if not growing up? Well, that's because we can have guarantees that you can't lose a gain once you get that gain. Okay, last page for tonight, and then we got a couple questions that we came in that I'll answer for you. We want you to win the banking game, not the financial institutions. We're going to help them. You're going to get loans from them. They're going to make money, but we want you to win the game. And you can by establishing the concepts and the strategies that we're talking about tonight. I want to thank you, and Steve wants to thank you for your time tonight. The burden of being able to win the game, do the job with your money, or your family, or your practice, is on you. We've got emails for a lot of you on the call tonight, but we don't have phone numbers. So you're going to have to reach out to us to set up, that's a pretty good sized word there, free personal 30 minutes. I've harped on that a lot tonight, and I think we need to do it. It's the first of the year. You need to set up good plans. Remember from the first screen, habits are hard to break. Let's get a good one. You're going to feel worse if you're starting that and it's working and you stop it than not having anything started, at all. So anyway, thanks for your time tonight. Let me go to these few questions, and then I'll let you get going so we stay within our time frame. First question came in. It's a good one. Why is it important to start my cap planning now? Well, the longer you wait to start it, the longer you have to wait until there's any money available. If one of the questions that we said why someone may not want to is they don't think they have any money. Well, you may not have any money. But if Steve and I can go through the process of looking at everything you're doing and find the money for you, when would you want to start? Well, as soon as you find the money. That's what Steve and I are good at. Again, I can't guarantee we can find it for everybody, but boy, we're in the high 90% of being able to get people started. It may not solve all the problems because cap plans are done in series of policies. And the reason is very simple. Your cash flow changes. It becomes larger and larger as you become more successful and you're in your practice longer. So we have clients that have 5, 6, 7 of these that have been purchased over time. So if we have to start small, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll build on it as time goes on. Okay, next question. Well, it's one we already really talked about. Are assets and net worth the most important things to accumulate? And the answer is no. Assets that produce cash flow are the most important things. And assets that you have access to are the most important things to be able to accumulate, not the net worth. Next one. Is typical planning bad compared to cap planning? It's not bad. It's done by most people that are out there. It's still going to help you be successful in your practice. The question is how successful and how efficient would you like to be? That's what we think we can bring to the table. Well, that basically is all the time we have for tonight. Hey, I want to thank everybody. We had a lot of people on tonight. Thank you for joining us. Steve's going to be with us the next time. We'll get this copy out to you in the next few days so you can kind of review it. Please remember, reach out to us, either email or call so we can get together with you for that, your own special invitation to look at your own plan. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great wintry time, at least here in Columbus, Ohio. Hopefully you've got better weather. Thanks again. Talk to you next time.